There's more to choosing nail polish than one might think. Okay, how many times have you gone to the store and you look at a wall of nail polish to select from? So you do have an idea in mind. Let's say you want a very nice, soft nude. So you take a look in where all the nudes are and you reach out and you grab a nude. Let's take a look at all the different kinds of nudes. Now, these are very innocent looking nudes. They're beautiful. I absolutely love them. Nudes are some of my favorite shades. But what's difficult about a nude is it can be cream. Cream can be a very hard color to put on. So if you're seeking a nude and you're not great at putting on nail polish, these kinds of nudes, even though they look innocent and light, they can be actually kind of difficult to put on. And the reason being is because they're actually very strongly pigmented, even though they are nude. And this is what I mean. I have a model today that's going to help me demonstrate polishes and what they look like when they go on a real person. And that does make a difference than when you're doing a fake nail, because fake nails don't have skin attached to it and it doesn't have sides. So you can't be as liberal when you're painting it on. So Steve, let me your hand.
Hi.
So if we put this color on, we really want to commit to those corners. So you can see, because of its pigment, you got to really commit. It's got a harder edge. But because of the lighter color, you can get away with it. And you can see with this kind of cream colors, they have a depth issue. You have to put it on solid. You have to do 2 coats because it kind of gets streaky. White colors are the worst. So here's white in a cream color. So when you're applying white, look how dense that is. You've got to go all in. You got one shot. You got to really know your cuticle edges. And even still, it can be kind of streaky. So you have to do the 2 coats. Now, if you did a white with a frost, this is cream. You see that solid pigment? Whereas this is a frosted, like it's got shimmers in it. Those are much easier to put on. You're not going to get the same effect, but if you're not really great at applying a cream color like this can be a great alternative. So let me show you. So when you apply this, it's much more forgiving. It doesn't have those really solid edges. They're solid, but it's not like the previous, like whiteout. It's a little more forgiving on the sides. Now, of course, it's still streaky because it's got the frost, but you'll have 2 layers of that. We always do. When you do the cream, the solid colors, those also need 2, sometimes 3. But they take much longer to dry than a frost. So if you're short on time, don't pick the solid cream colors. They're gorgeous, but they do take a lot longer. Now here's an example of some beautiful creams over here. Let's take this yellow, for example. Such a beautiful color, but this color really looks good when it is solid. You can't do this just a little bit. You can't do this just sort of a light finish. You've got to really commit when it comes to a color like this. So when you're applying a color like this, it's tough because you really got to commit to those cuticles. So your cuticle has got to be really, really smooth in there. And you've got to take it slow. You've got a fast drying nail polish. You got to make your commitment. You got to make the move and just go for it. Those are colors you really, really have to commit to. So the strongest version of that would be black, but the white, even though they're the opposite 2 colors, they are just as hard to put on as each other because they have such a strong pigment. And being cream, there's just no forgiveness in the edges. So if you want to get really good at nail polish and real quick and make it look like that you're really good at it, don't pick the creams, these solid colors with the high pigment, because you have to be really strong on your edges and really commit. So a great way to cheat that is to do the frost like I mentioned. Let's just finish the 2nd coat on this frost. Okay, a 2nd coat. Now, I probably would even think about doing a 3rd coat, but this is going to dry so much faster, and you can see how the edges are a lot more forgiving than that super stark white. Now, it isn't a super flat, stark white, but you're going to have to maybe sacrifice something rather than having really rough edges until you get really good at it. Here's another little bit of a cheat you can do to get around. Let's take these guys off, this one off anyway. Now this is a deeper color, it's a beautiful color, but a real great tip is shimmer or glitter. The bigger the glitter, the easier it is to apply because it doesn't have that strong pigmented edge. I love nail polish. I've been doing nail polish for 30 years. And when I did clients for the first 25 years, all we did was nail polish after every single client. So I got really good at nail polish. Nail polish I absolutely love it. I don't sell nail polish, but these are excellent brands that I'm working with today. This is not a sponsored video, but I just absolutely love polish. Never overlook the beauty of nail polish. But applying and picking the right one really is the secret to making it look perfect when you're finishing. So this is a darker color, like I said. So you're thinking, but it's a darker color. Isn't it going to be harder to apply? No, because it's kind of see-through. Also, too, polishes can be a bit deceiving when you see them in the bottle. We've got several here that are like this one and this one. Not so much the darker one because it's a bit more truer when you put more coats on. But something like this, when you first see it in the bottle, the softer colors, like they're not quite look like that when you put them on. So it's that trick about putting maybe 2 to 3 layers on. You're not going to get that look in one. But with the solid colors, they're much more true to what they're going to look like when they actually go on the nail because it is solid. But these ones, any little glitter or sparkles, sometimes you're not really sure what it's going to look like when you put it on. So this one is quite a bit darker in the bottle, but let's see how dark we can get it because I have a feeling it's going to go on the lighter side. Ooh. Yeah, look at that. You see how forgiving the edges are? It's a little bit softer. Now this is only one coat, but that's not too bad. So we're going to do a couple more coats to see if we can get what we're seeing in the bottle to comparison to what we can put on the nail. But that's really pretty. That's going to dry relatively quickly too because it is mostly clear with a bit of pigment, a little bit of pigment in it with the glitters. Glitters tend to dry faster too. The cream colors, these really solid ones, they take a lot longer to dry, especially if you put on 3 coats. With these more solid cream colors, I actually would put them on and give them maybe a minute or 2 in between coats before you put another one on. They're also tough that if you do muck it up, they're much harder to fix, especially when you're painting it on. The glitters can be much more forgiving. So we can probably paint another coat on here now. I'm going to see what this looks like. Oh, look at that. See that? Much more solid. Isn't that pretty? I like that. So comparing it to the bottle, it looks pretty good. Not bad at all. Okay, let's go back to this frosted white one. That's probably had enough time to dry. Now I'm going to sort of float it over top so I don't have as many brush strokes because I think I have too many there. So if I just float it, now it is a frost, so it's going to have that to a certain degree. I'll see if I can float it over top a little bit to get the third coat thin, but a little bit more solid. Yeah, that's nice. I like, a little bit here. Yeah, that looks much better. Like I say, when you're painting these kinds of tips to test out a nail color, I mean, let me see if I can get a darker color. Well, maybe we should just go for a really dark color. When you're painting these kinds of tips, when you put them on, you don't have to worry about the skin. You can just slap it on and you can get it solid right to the edge, which is fine when you're watching or checking out a color. That's totally cool. But if you're doing an actual nail, you can't just pile it on and make it solid everywhere. You have guidelines, and within those guidelines is a person's finger and a person's skin. So when you're actually doing a real nail, you've got all the skin around it, so you can't just flop it on like you would a plastic tip. So we can do it nice and smoothly like that. And if you want to get a little closer, you can take a little brush. But with nail polish, you got to move quickly, right? Okay, so let's take a look at, if you really want those chunky glitters, they're actually not near as intimidating or as hard as you might think. So here's two beautiful glittery colors. One's a little more solid than the other, but let's take a look at them. They might not look quite the same on the nail as they do in the bottle here. So let's remove this. Oh, that brings up another point. Whenever you have glitter in your nail polish, they can be a little harder to remove. I highly recommend, and why this is coming off so beautifully, is to have a little acetone in your nail polish remover. In fact, you can use straight acetone to remove nail polish. I do it all the time. I much prefer it. You want to give your glitters a bit of a shake. Actually, any nail polish, I actually shake Almi polish. Sometimes there's a little metal bead, little ball in there that you can mix around the color. Okay, I'm curious what this one looks like. Remember how solid this one looks in the bottle? Ooh. Okay, those edges are like, yeah, these are nice and soft. This is an easier one to put on than you might think. It looks rather solid in the bottle, and you're going to need 2 or 3 thinner coats to get that colored effect. That's really pretty. So you still have some solidness with this color, and it's much easier to put on, yet it looks rather solid. Let's take a look at the other one. This one's a chunkier glitter, so I have a feeling this one is not going to be as solid as that one. So let's paint this on. Yeah, it's what I thought. See how this is really just a clear with some glitter in it. So see this one, if you purchase this in the bottle like this color, you might be disappointed if you put that on because you're going to need quite a few coats in order to get this intensity of the color. So sometimes glitters in a bottle can be kind of deceiving. However, that is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. So here's a little tip what I would do if I had something like that. Even if I wasn't so good at a more solid color, I might try this. You can mix colors in the bottle, but you can do this, kind of layer them. It might give you more of the color that you're looking for. So if you thought you will have a little bit more intensity, you could paint another color underneath, a little more solid. We'll let that dry for a second, and we'll revisit that. So sometimes when I get a solid color like that and I want a little more softness to it, I'll put something like this on top. Oops, a little bit on the cuticle. Look at that. That's gorgeous. Oh, I got a little bit over here. I really like that. I think we just invented a new color. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so let's see if I can get, this one's got a little bit more streaky. I'm just gonna put, these ones can be really difficult to apply, as I said before. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just gonna put another coat. Also too, the more you play around with cream colors, like solid colors, they don't like it. That's what I mean when you have to commit. You really got to kind of just put it on, because if you kind of do this here and there, glitter can put up with that a bit more, but solid colors just don't like that. Okay. Always give your glitters a shake just to make sure that the glitters are floating where you want them to and they haven't settled too much. And then I'm going to just paint this over top. Gives you a little bit more color if you don't want a see-through look. Now remember this pretty little one we did here? Remember this solid color in the bottle? This is only 1 coat. Let's see what it looks like for 2 coats. And remember, most nail polishes have intended that color with 2 coats. So if it's looking kind of soft with the 1, make sure you remember you want to put 2 on there to get the true color of what it was intended. That's pretty. So look at that. All we needed was another coat to get really what the bottle was telling us on the inside. So to sum that up, creams and solid colors. These ones are very strong in pigment, and they can be very intense in color with every stroke. So it's got to be really, really even. And the edges have got to be crisp. These are really hard to put on. You can practice. You can get really good at it. And you can also put another color over top to sort of soften that. And the easiest ones to put on really are these soft, soft shimmers with little tiny bits of glitter are the easiest ones to put on. And the middle of the road ones that are not too bad, of that red one that we just did, this one here, this one, these ones are kind of like mid glitters and smaller glitters with pigment around it, but not as solid as the strong pigmented colors. Okay? So that should help you when you go to the store next time. I mean, we all go to the store and we take it out and we sort of paint it on and sort of get a little bit of a look. Obviously, that can tell you because what's outside the bottle can look very, very different than what actually it looks like when it goes on. So, well, you've got 3 mismatched fingernails. So maybe we should put one nice color on for you and let you go on your way. But thank you so much, Steve. I really appreciate you being my model today.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Okay, thanks for joining me. And I hope that all makes sense, explaining how you can choose your polish next time you go to the store to pick one.